I'm a security guard for ECG.
Alright, ladies and gents. Apologies for the late start, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. We're here back again for the second of 4 weeks of the Choicez series. You can see a few familiar faces from last week. Also a few new faces as well, which is great to see some new friends here as well. For those of you who don't know, in case you weren't here last week, this series is basically a way to think a little deeper about the choices that we make in life. That all sounds very deep, but when you think about it, those are the very things that actually make us and who we are. We make good choices, we become better. We made dumb choices, not so good choices, then we're a little less worse off. So this series is thinking just a little bit more deeply about the sorts of choices that we make. And each week tracks a different particular sort of experience, a life experience that we all go through. So for those of you who last week we touched on choices and concerns around study and work, money and family. This week, I think we can face a few different sort of dilemmas that all of us will go through at some point in our life. Now, as you know, last week we had a very confused fictional. I might let you know this person isn't actually exactly who they say they are, but they are. Nevertheless, they represent real issues that a lot of us go through. So this fictional, very confused young lady, Cassie, uni student, addressed a number of questions to a very wise old sage, Professor Hayden Ramsey, the Senior Deputy Vice Chancellor of Notre Dame University, who has agreed to come back again because Cassie, although many of her questions were answered, has a few more questions, I think, that she'd like to share in the form of a letter tonight. So that's basically the format of this evening. Each week sort of builds upon each other, so it's really great if you guys can come each week rather than sort of coming once off. But as you know from all the cameras around, this will be filmed and hopefully put on YouTube as well, so please sign those consent forms, otherwise you will have a blurred face. But that's basically the format for the evening. We'll have a letter read out loud, Hayden will then respond, and then there'll be time for Q&A as well. So while Hayden's going through his response, feel free to think up a few questions and then just pop your hand up and we can get straight through the Q&A. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Cassie. Thank you.
Dear Hayden, it's me again, Cassie.
Hey, Cassie.
You responded to my letter. Thanks so much for all your advice. And thanks for turning up again this evening, even though I insulted your uni last week. Thinking through what you said has made me start to wonder about other areas of my life. And the more I think about it, the more I realise that this is pretty important stuff. But I feel like I'm the only one thinking about it. I was sharing some of what we've been talking about with my friends the other day, and they looked at me like I'd gone insane. I guess that old saying rings true: ignorance is bliss, or ignorance is just ignorance. I'm not sure yet. But even with their blissful ignorance, my friends are my lifeline at the moment. With all the constant drama at home, my friends are the ones who I end up spending most of my time with. And who needs family when you've got great friends anyway, right? But thinking about my friends has made me wonder who my friends really are. I mean, I've got hundreds of friends, just look at my Facebook account. But are they all really friends? I mean, how many of them will still be around in a few years? So are we supposed to be handpicking people to be our friends? Or is it really just about collecting as many people as possible? The more you have now, the more likely it is there'll be some left over later on, right? I don't know. I know that in the future some friendships are going to be more important than others, but it's hard to know now which friends I should be holding on to and which ones I should be letting go of. There's so many different groups of friends. School, uni, sport, church, work, and if I'm honest, I just spend time with the friends that I enjoy the most. But now it's got me worried. Do I have to get rid of all my friends? The fun friends who I enjoy spending time with? Not sure if church friends know how to have fun. We'll investigate and I really don't want to be a loner, so I'd really rather you didn't tell me that I have to cut everyone out of my life. Just saying. But I'm open to your suggestions. On another note, I met a guy. He's a bit of a hottie. We're not together, but we're kinda, like almost together. I love being around him and he makes me laugh and we just have so much fun. He's actually a great distraction from the boringness that is my law degree. So I really like him and I think he really likes me. But I don't know, and I don't want to be the needy girl who needs to know where the relationship is going. but really all I want to know is where is the relationship going. I also don't want to let it get too far because I don't want to get my heart broken again. I'll save you the sub story. And it's hard to know where the line is when things get physical. So without getting even more awkward than this already is, how far is too far? I just don't want to make stupid decisions that I regret. But on the other hand, he could be the one, you know? But how do I know? How does anyone know? Can anyone know? Do I even need to know? Can't I just enjoy it for as long as it lasts? I mean, the way my parents are going, I'm not sure I even want to get married. Any advice?
Oh, Cassie, I thought we would have been further on. Let's get back, friends of Cassie, back down to her situation in Wollongong then. We have a few problems here. I get about 6 things we're going to have to focus on tonight. I'll try my best, but your friends are going to have to pitch in about 12 minutes time, folks. First of all, to go to the beginning of your letter, Cassie, you are not mad, you are not going crazy. As I told you last week, everybody thinks through this stuff. The key is you have to think through this stuff. Now, thinking through something doesn't mean obsessing about that thing. It doesn't mean getting needlessly anxious about that thing. Thinking through a thing means using your mind, using reason, taking time, being patient. You're not going to get all the answers now or even this year. And critically, as we said last week, discussing. Particularly discussing with people you trust. Most of them are going to be your own age. I think it's good myself if you have one who's a bit older than you. You are not going mad, Cassie, I promise. Though you should have come to Notre Dame, it would all have been easy. Anyways, putting that aside, to take the little mention of the family first, we spoke quite a bit about the family, as everyone will know, last week. I just want to make clear, building on last week, you must honour and respect your family. There is no question about that. But, as mentioned last week, it could be that for you, not living with your family might make that a bit easier to do. That's one for you to open up. Family, we have to understand, cannot be absolute joy on a high all of the time. I know you're a good Catholic girl, Cassie. Remember, I've got the end of the letter and we'll come to that in due course. But I know you're a good Catholic girl. Family is part of marriage. Marriage is one of the sacraments, and as the Christian folk here will know, sacraments are a way of sharing in Christ's passion. They're not just a way of sharing in the incredible news of what happened after the passion. Sacraments, all 7 of them, including marriage, will include suffering. That's the message of the Christian life. If you think you're going to have marriage and family without hard days, then it ain't Christian marriage and family you're talking about. Anyway, that's the family stuff. On the friends matter, you have hundreds of friends, and you have hundreds of friends in inverted commas, and you probably have thousands out there on all these devices you have. Cassie, don't spend the whole day talking to devices. If you spend your whole time talking to gadgets rather than to people, we're going to have a problem. The gadgets can't hear you. I know you think there are people at the other end sending you those messages back. There's actually no one there. These are gadgets. Don't talk to them. Okay? Who are your real friends? Well, I think we have different sorts of friends. I think friends don't come in different grades like eggs do, but they come in different sorts in the sense that they fulfill different functions, play different parts in our lives. You mentioned to me you go out and have lots and lots of fun with your friends. Fun is good, but is fun the only thing holding this friendship together? Test yourself. If you no longer provided fun, amusement to those friends, or if those friends did not provide that fun to you, what would be left? Would there be enough left to call this friendship? I want you to have fun. Your folks want you to have fun. Your mates here all want you to have fun. But fun is an interesting thing. Fun is one of the things you don't get by seeking. If you want to have real fun, don't go out seeking fun. Fun comes when you bury yourself deeply in other things, such as a wonderful social life, or your sporting life, or your cultural interests, or even a thing like we've got tonight. Fun comes when you don't have your eyes on fun. If you seek fun, I am going out here to get fun, there is a real chance that you're going to try and take shortcuts, and we all know that some of those shortcuts are very dangerous to get the fun high. Get fun through other stuff. Now, one of the most important examples of that other stuff through which fun will come are your genuine friendships. Personally, I take a look at your age and at my age with the people you're spending your time with. Some of the time, I presume all of us would agree, we're fleeing emptiness in our own lives. And I don't want any of you to be empty, but I also don't want you to lead a life which is just devoted to fleeing emptiness. I want you to lead a life that's seeking positive goods in that life. So let's take a look at that. You take a look at that. Maybe through our question session we'll all take a look at that together. What is the good life beginning to look like for you? And by the way, emptiness, don't flee it. Just thinking this through, do something with it. One of the greatest of thinkers, who I mentioned at one point last week, not a Catholic thinker, a German guy called Kant, he said, when you've got a bit of spare time, as long as you do nothing wicked, there's a couple of things you might do with that time. In his language, seek your own perfection and seek the happiness of others. Your own perfection, in other words, I suppose hobbies in ordinary language. What are the capacities, the talents, the gifts I've got which I'm not currently using? You know, buried deep inside these people here is amazing classical guitarist. Is this wonderful, wonderful male ballet dancer here. These depths of self-perfection have not yet been explored. Cassie, deep inside you, there is something remarkable. Your own perfection, get it out. And secondly, the happiness of others. Charity, volunteering, giving a little bit back. We know how infectious this is for young people. All young people are fired up by the idea of a bit of sacrifice and giving something back. So if you've got emptiness there, what talents aren't being fulfilled, and what would you love to give back? Not as a hard, sore, cold duty, but what would you love to give back to others? You can fill up this emptiness by things other than the gadgetry. Now, where did you take me to after that? I think you took me to this strange, unidentified boy. Probably in this room, lurking in the depths, hoping I don't pick on him, but I won't go further into that just now. I don't think I'm going to give you relationships advice, Cassie. I think that way probably madness lies for a man of my age position. But I would like to say a couple of words about this, and maybe others are going to say things to you afterwards, just as your friends in this off-record environment with 14 tape recorders, 2 cameras and a video. Feel safe. On the guy front, yeah, it sounds as if it's moving along nicely, and I think as one of your older friends, I want you to enjoy yourself with this guy if it's going well. Personally, thinking back over the many, many decades to when I was at that stage myself, I think if this thing could move in stages, if we don't do any very dramatic hopping into one place or another, but if we first of all aim at getting a real friendship here, and then thinking about whether we want to do some dating with the guy, and then if that's going to happen, thinking if we want to make some sort of commitment, and then if that's going to happen, thinking if we together want this commitment to be a permanent one, which by the way we do call marriage, that would be a good sort of staged approach. There's a couple of things that sometimes get in the way here. And one of them is that how far is too far question, which you so engagingly blushed as you mentioned earlier. Let me just be honest on that. Every one of us in this room and in that room out there and through that window on the street, every one of us is a sexual being, as well as an intellectual being, an imaginative being, a physical being, a spiritual being, a social being. We're all also sexual beings. We come with, like every animal, sets of sexual desires, of social desires, of intellectual desires, aesthetic desires, etc. The sexual desires are there, and they do tend to really rage at various parts of your life. What do we do with them? I think even though we get a bit coy and so on about them, I think they're basically like other forms of desires. We do not let those desires lead us by the nose against our own happiness or anyone else's happiness. These desires, like all desires, have to be integrated into our personality so that they serve our total happiness rather than dominate our total happiness. Now, going back to your Catholic education way down there in Wollongong, under Sister Mary Murgatroyd, now aged 114 and still praying for you every day, they probably told you down there about chastity, which sounded about as interesting as eating soap. Chastity sounds dreadful. It sounds like basically avoiding sex, going into denial, repressing yourself, and getting a bit squeamish about the whole thing. That's the opposite of the Christian account of chastity, which is entirely about doing something with your sexuality. Sex isn't that much different from the other parts of our desirous nature. It's about taking your view, your integrated view of the good, the rich human life, the way you've integrated your mind, your imagination, your body, your relationships. Well, let's get the sexual desires integrated with that vision and serving it rather than dominating it. I'm not going to lecture you on what to do with this guy, your boyfriend, if he is your boyfriend, but I'm going to tell you that if what I've said just now sounds old-fashioned, I'm really pleased about that, because something as sacred as you and your body deserves the wisdom of ages in order to get it right. That's the first thing I wanted to say about Mystery Guy. Second thing I want to say about Mystery Guy is this. I can sense from the way your letters are going, building on last week where we spoke about life in the world, what you were going to do. This week we're speaking about people in the world, who you're going to spend your time with. I can sort of sense where this is going as you grow through the responses of your mates here in the room. We're probably going to end up at some point talking about God and your life as a whole. And when we come to that, that's not for this week, but when we come to that, we'll probably get down into the great mystery of that famous and much loved Catholic order of perpetual discernment, the one in which I get stuck trying to work out my calling, if you like, my vocation. Well, I think there's a version of that in what you said about this guy, the quotes, hottie, end quotes. That's a word I have never uttered in public or in private. Any Notre Dame students present in this room who mention this tomorrow, terrible steps will be taken. A thing we have to do with the boy, and the boy has to do with the girl, is to avoid this craziness of looking for the right one. If we look for the right one, Mr. or Miss Perfect, the one who ticks all boxes, that way I think madness lies. Just as if we think we're called to be a priest or get married or whatever, and we spend time thinking and thinking and thinking round it, trying to find that special guarantee that this is the perfect answer, this is absolutely right, this is capital T, capital O, the one for me. I reckon that for most of us, perhaps for all of us, and certainly for me, I will never do that thing. The only way to get a real romance going is actually to be romantic in the old style way. Not to look for perfection, but just to start and to see how it goes with this guy. And just starting doesn't mean doing something with your God-given and beautiful body, which I think is a wrong thing to do. It actually means doing something as old-fashioned as going to a movie. And I reckon that's exactly what you should do at about 9:30 tonight. Questions for me, guidance for Cassie. Over to you.